All right. Hello, chess players. I am coming at you today from the beautiful Fredericktown, Missouri, at a coffee shop that is far nicer than this town deserves. It's called The Station, and if you're a local, I 100% recommend it. Great coffee. All right. So I'm here to tell you about my chess tour that I took to Houston and then Corpus Christi. It is rare to find other people in my field of profession that are as excited about chess, as passionate, and are dedicated to helping others and building local chess communities. I have the honor today of speaking to Mr. Johan Fjeld, who is the #1 rated chess player from Corpus Christi. He owns his own chess business and he's running a thriving chess community. So without further ado, here is Jonathan Fjeld.
Johan
Hey,
fell.
Jonathan, how are you today?
I'm good.
All right, honored to have you here. So let's start with this. What motivated you to develop your chess business and to serve the chess players of Corpus Christi to the extent that you have?
Uh, Originally, I just wanted like teaching chess to be my retirement plan, hobby, whatever you want it to be. And but somebody asked me to teach their kid because they didn't like the other teachers around town, and so I was like, okay, I'll take on one student. Put my curriculum to the test since I'm going to be teaching someday anyway. And then that student ended up becoming region champion, and then other parents were lining up asking me to teach their kid, and so I ended up teaching a bunch of kids, and they were all winning tournaments. And then the local tournaments started losing their attendance, so I decided I'm going to help out with the tournaments because that's where my students are coming from, is from the tournaments. And then I ended up being the guy that runs the tournaments too. So now I teach chess and I run tournaments.
It often happens like that, right? There's
Yeah.
a system that's not operating effectively, and chess doesn't happen unless chess players step up.
Yeah.
And one thing that really impressed me, I didn't get to spend too long in your community, but every person, every kiddo was excited when you walked into the room. So you clearly do have a thriving chess community and you have students passionate about chess and that are excelling at it. And it wouldn't have happened if you would have let the dying chess clubs keep existing. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
often the case, right? That you walk in, you correct it, and then all the work is dumped on your shoulders. But in our case, we want it.
Yeah. I don't like having all the responsibility, but at the same time, uh I love what I'm doing. I didn't know I'd be doing this right now, but that's what I'm doing now.
All right. And I found myself in the exact same shoes, man, that wouldn't have it any other way. All right, so here's a question I like to discuss with people. What does your chess rating mean? So what is a 1900 player? How do we describe that to the rest of the chess world?
Uh I would say a 1900 rated player can walk into any coffee shop and probably beat everyone there without an effort.
Corpus Christi has 300,000 people, right?
So somewhere around there.
Right. And you're #1 considerably. I,
Uh,
I like to think of, right?
no, I believe there's one or two here that are rated higher than me.
Okay.
They're
That I
just not
wasn't aware of.
they're just not well known.
But yeah, at the 1900 level, you're a contender for any regional championship, I would say. But how would you describe the chess that you play? What is A class chess?
Say that again.
What is A class chess? What is the level of A class chess like?
Uh, it's fun. I don't know how to answer this question.
Yeah, it's could go in a number of ways. So I would like to describe being a 1900 because I'm in the same boat as you.
Mhm.
I would describe it as we have more than a baseline level of proficiency in every area of the game. Openings, middle games, end games. Everything we have is has to be on point to maintain this level of play. And I think what separates us from masters, right, is that masters are more refined in their openings. They have a little bit better strategic understanding and they're better at end games. They're just slightly better at every area of the game. But I would say that at 1800 you have the building blocks. I'd say that's the 90% point to becoming a master, but that 10% matters and it's hard to accrue. Do you disagree?
Uh, I don't have a master title, so I can't. Yeah, I think a lot of lower rated players look at higher rated players and they think they understand until they get there. If like I remember being a 1500, thinking what it would be like to be, an 1800, and then reaching 1800, looking back and thinking, oh, I was wrong. You don't understand. And so I think any opinion that we have of what it's like to be, uh, a high level master, we're probably wrong. It's probably it's probably a lot more to it than what we think that is.
All right, I like the approach. I spent a lot of time just grabbing coffee with these guys, picking their brains, and I feel like I can see glimpses, right? We'll never get the full vision until we're there. I try
Yeah,
to pick up on the glimpses. And one reason why I'd recommend people hire you instead of an IM or GM as a coach, especially if they're in the 14, 1500 range, is they're able to see a glimpse into what the next two levels of chess is like. Whereas if you have a GM or IM coach, unless they're one hell of a teacher, it's going to be really hard for you to understand seven levels above your current rating level.
yeah. Something I've noticed with all levels of chess teaching, uh, the chess coach generally wants to teach the thing that they're working on themselves instead of what the student needs. And I think why people should hire me isn't, you know I think it's because of how long I've played chess and how long I've taught chess, and the fact that I'm also self-taught. So, and that's another thing. I think a lot of those high-rated players, they got there rather quickly through lessons, and they didn't have the same struggle that a self-taught player has, because they were shown how to do things versus a self-taught player that had to figure it out. And I think having been self-taught, I know the hardest path. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I'm self-taught as well. And that's not to say that I haven't picked the brains of higher rated players, but it is to say, for the most part, I've done this without guidance.
Yeah.
And it
So
gives you an appreciation. And even for me, I want to save chess players the headache, right? You can beat your head against the wall until you get there, and you
yeah,
can do that. Or you can apply a little bit of chess wisdom, and we can make sure that the route is a little bit less painful.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with that statement. So here's one thing that I don't think the chess community understands. You currently charge $60 for a lesson, right?
No,
All
I
right, what's
charge
your
40.
current rate?
I'm charging
40?
40.
That is a steal. I think a lot of people have the objection, right, that well, $40 an hour to teach chess, that's a lot of money, especially from areas that don't have a lot. But yeah, why is that the best investment a person will ever make if they're passionate about chess?
Uh, if you want to reach whatever level you're trying to reach, you're going to reach it a lot faster with lessons. Like, yeah, you can do it self-taught, but like I've been playing chess for 30 years. And, it took me a bulk of that to get where I'm at. And I've got kids now that are, we've got a couple of local kids here that are probably going to pass me up in rating soon. And they've only been playing 2 or 3 years.
And that's really the highest honor that any chess coach can have.
And so,
Congratulations.
yeah, I think if you want to get good at chess, if you're serious about it, then lessons is a great idea because you're going to save yourself a lot of time.
Absolutely. A person's time is valuable, and it's hard to put a dollar sign to it. But if you're going to attempt to read a chess book that's too hard or too easy for you, right, and misuse 10 hours of your life,
Yeah.
a lesson can really help you maximize your time.
I think having a chess coach period is going to save you time just for, like, let's say you do all the work yourself and all the chess coach really does is tell you what to do next. That's going to be the huge time saver because you don't know what to do next. You're just tackling whatever book you can find, whatever video you can find, where a chess coach can tell you this is what you need to work on next. This is how you get to the next level, and you can skip all that unnecessary reading and video watching.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And it's more than we just have the knowledge of how to advance. I've done this long enough that I know the struggles, roughly speaking, right, of what every lower rating range has.
Yeah.
And we're not just chess players, right? We're chess teachers. We've developed that teaching craft as well with what we do. So yeah, it's useful and we're imparting more than just knowledge, right? I've been so heartbroken, I suppose, from some tournament results. I think every player goes through severe heartbreak. My last tournament was a severe heartbreak. But at least I try in my lessons to lift people up, to motivate them, to help them focus on the long term. Essentially, we're in their corner. So yeah, it doesn't make sense to go out and do something, and especially if your goal is to make master, right? A lot of students say that and then give up on it.
Yeah.
But if you respect the goal and the challenge that's in front of you, it's ludicrous to go do this unsupported.
Yeah. Uh, I wish I could give lessons for free.
I'm with you, man. I would if I could, but as you know as well as I do, right? It's
Yeah, if I ever win the lottery, I'm still going to be teaching chess. I just I just won't have to charge for it anymore. But
all
I
right.
think and I think there's a lot of teachers out there, a lot of chess teachers that they're only doing it for the money.
Yeah,
You know, and I've seen guys that charge 200 a lesson, and I was like, wow, you better be really good at teaching. But they're probably just as good as teaching as the guy that charges 50 a lesson. They just have a higher title, you know?
yeah, absolutely. And I think there's almost a status that's associated with that, right? My chess coach does X, Y, and Z, or is
And
X, Y, and Z.
I suppose they could charge what they want if the demand is there. And
Right. But
that's probably why I charge what I charge. Like I know I could charge more in another city with a higher demand, but I can't charge less. I can't charge less
absolutely.
than yeah.
So
Yeah,
I'm
people go ahead.
I'm sitting here today because a 1,500 player in backwoods Missouri chose to invest in my chess career.
Cool.
And I'd much rather go with the local guy than the guy with the international master title, right, that has 200 students and can't take the time to invest in the locals to the extent to which they need it. That's my own 2 cents. All right, so someone hops on your website, which is chesscore.net.
Say it again.
Your website is chesscore.net.
Yes.
All right, so someone hops on, they book a Johan Field lesson. I will learn your name someday.
Huh.
What can they expect for their first couple lessons?
Uh, first couple lessons. Well, the first lesson is going to be mostly me assessing them, figuring out what they need. 'Cause every student's different. You know, I don't like just showing up with a lesson and this is the lesson you get, no matter what you want, whatever you need. You know, I've seen a lot of teachers do that where they choose the lesson and just show up and teach that lesson. And I think that's a little crazy. I think that ignores the student need. So my number one priority when I first meet a new student is to get to know them, understand their playing level. And I try to look for the lowest level weakness in their game, like the most beginner level mistake that they're making. And I want to fix those first because those are the easiest to fix. So I target their most beginner weaknesses and build them up.
All right, excellent. And sometimes there are a lot of weaknesses, right? So
Yeah.
if you identify, for example, three weaknesses, how are you going to structure a plan for your student to improve? What does an improvement plan look like, right? Because it's not just get the lesson and go home, but
Yeah.
there's assigned homework. So
Well,
how do you assign work in between your students?
I've kind of listed off all the skills and knowledge needed for chess in like in order. It's just an order that I made for myself. Someone else would put them in a different order, but like the hanging piece tactic would be more beginner level than the counting tactic or the forking tactic, the more basic tactic. And so if let's say they're bad at forks and they're bad at hanging piece, well, I'm going to focus on hanging piece first because that's going to be the one, they're going to lose more games from that than they will from forks.
Excellent.
And what I do is whatever lesson I teach a student, I have like homework that I give them, especially with tactics is real easy because you can do puzzles online. And I like to use the website chesstempo.com because you can actually assign a student tactics based purely on a specific theme. So if they need to learn how to do forks, I can give them 1,000 puzzles on forks, and they can just really focus on that. After
And
you
can
do
you
100,
monitor their progress?
yeah, you could see everything they got wrong. You could see what wrong move they played, how much time they spent thinking about it, and but after you do 100 forks, it's kind of hard not to see a fork in a game because that's all you've been focused on.
Absolutely. All right. So talk to me a little bit about your vision for Corpus Christi chess or where you're going with your own chess business.
Uh it's like I said, originally this was just something I wanted to do in my old age when I was too old to work, and and now that it's like a thing already that I do, uh, I've asked myself like, what do I want to do with this? How big do I want this to be? How big can it be? I think I am. I think my city is a bit limited on how big I can go with this. Um, but I do have like this dream where Corpus Christi becomes just as big as like Dallas, where when you'd say chess in Texas, you think Corpus Christi. That would be kind of cool, but it's not my expectation. It's just one of those, one day if I win the lottery.
All right, excellent. So what are your own personal goals with your own chess career?
Uh, I just want a master title.
I
That's all I
asked you
want.
that I asked you that in person, right? If you were pushing towards the 2000 expert level mark, and you gave me
Yeah,
this look like, of course not,
yeah.
and
Like,
said you wanted the master title. I think every chess player of this rating level is competitive beyond what the average person would think a chess player is capable of.
yeah. And you know what? A 1,500 rated player can surprise you too.
I have this opinion that a 1500 level player is a great player.
Yeah,
In my opinion, it's capped out. It's what the average person, if they dedicate their if they dedicate a large part of their life to tournament play in chess, I think the average person tends to peak at about 1500.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed too. And that's actually the goal I have for my students. I just want to get each student to that 1500 range. I believe at the 1500 range, your eyes are open to what chess really is. I think before that, you don't really see it all. I think at 1500, you understand all the phases of the game. You understand how much work it takes to get good. You can see ahead how much work it will take to get to the next level. And I don't think a player really understands the road to master or to 2000, whatever their goal is, until they've at least reached a 1500 level when they can see all of the game.
Yeah, it's a level to where you'll have a great appreciation for chess. It
Yeah,
certainly makes it more
I call it the
enjoyable.
fun level. I think chess is the most fun at the 1500 range. I think, if I wasn't a chess teacher, I would not mind going back and being a 1500 rated player. I think just maintaining a 1900 playing level, you have to work every day just to keep those skills.
Right.
And at a 1500 level, as long as you're playing, you'll stay 1500.
I think I probably had the most fun with chess at 1300. Now I'm having a lot of fun with chess now, but it's mixed with pain. Playing in the game in 90s plus 30s, right? And losing due to a time pressure error or a tempo in the end game, right? It's still worthwhile and there's nothing I'd rather do instead of that, but it comes with an element of pain that was absent
I,
at
I
the
have I
1300
have a,
1500
a
level.
strange thing where I just hang my queen. That's uh,
Mm.
that's how I'm losing my games.
And I think that's so maddening for us too, right? Because Jonathan, Jonathan, Johan,
Johan.
yes, I know your name. You took 4 out of 7 games in the blitz that we played. And I don't think it was either of our best games of chess, right? I hung a couple rooks and
Yeah,
there were some missed tactics, but we both know what we're capable of if we do the little things correctly. And I think
right.
too, being a teacher, the benefit is we spend a lot of time thinking about chess. So I've got revelations that I would have never thought of if I didn't dedicate a large portion of my time to helping people get better. But the negative side is we're thinking about it instead of doing it. I think it might come more natural to, let's say, a player of equivalent rating that isn't overburdened with teaching.
Yeah, yeah.
All
That's
right,
one of the reasons
excellent.
why I didn't want to become a teacher until my old age. I didn't want to be hindered by teaching other people. I wanted to spend all my chess time on me, not on other people. But here I am.
Well, the community was in need of a leader and you stepped up. So I'm sure the people of Corpus Christi are happy. Well, I saw it firsthand. You had a crowd that followed you. So yeah, that leads me to my next question. If someone stops by Corpus Christi for a week, where should they go? How can they experience chess in the city?
Uh, on my website calendar, I've got multiple chess meetings listed there. The biggest meeting of the week is on Saturday at the Nealon Library. That's the one I always tell people to go to. That's the one I go to. I don't actually attend most of the other ones. I just can't fit it in my schedule to be at everything.
All right. And your website is again chesscore.net and
Yes.
the library, one more time, what was that?
Saturdays at the Nealon Library.
Neelan Library, got it. So I've got a funny story, Johan. I think it'll provide some clarity to why I had to cancel.
Okay.
When I went to the library,
Mm-hmm.
there was a gigantic pothole filled with water that took off a major portion of my bumper.
Okay.
I think you saw me as I was leaving the library, just standing in the road, staring at a pothole, looking at what
Oh
was
yeah.
once a piece of my car. So driving down the road and watching parts of the car fall off, I thought, I better just stop by and see my mechanic. This doesn't seem like the safest of scenarios, but everything checked out okay, other than just getting the bumper fixed. So watch out for the anti-personnel devices at the library. But other than that, I had a wonderful experience. The crowd was inviting, the kids were passionate about chess. A little annoying. We had some followers there, but overall they were well behaved, and it seemed like a passionate and exciting chess club. 100% would recommend.
Yeah, I like the kids. I like kids more than adults.
Certainly adults that act like kids. Enough of
Yeah,
those are in the chess
I
world.
get along with them real well.
But in Dallas, Fort Worth, there are a lot of kids that kind of run chess clubs. And
Yeah.
that's not what I've seen. That's not what I've seen down here. Yeah, they were kids, but they were behaving appropriately. Whereas if you go to a tournament, if you go to the wrong tournament in the Dallas area, you're just going to have kids running up and down the tournament hall. And it's even more maddening when they're playing in the expert section of the Southwest class.
Ah,
All right. So, mm, you are one of the few chess coaches that advocate something that I truly believe in. So walk me through what is blindfold chess and how can you use it to improve your game?
blindfold chess, you can actually break it into multiple levels. And that's something I use with my students. I've learned as a teaching tool, blindfold chess improves your calculation. If you're able to visualize the pieces moving in your head, uh, I mean, that's what you're doing when you're trying to solve what to play next. You're picturing the pieces moving in your head. So if you've practiced that skill by purposely playing games blindfolded, you're going to drastically improve your calculation ability because now you have a clearer image in your head of the pieces moving. And you don't have to put a blindfold on and picture everything in your head. You can break it down. You can make it simpler. You could play with the board only and no pieces. You could play with uh, tokens where all the pieces look the same, so you still have pieces to move. You could make one side have tokens and the other side have actual pieces. You only have to keep track of one side of the board. Yeah, you can break down, simplify it for the student's current ability, and then complicate it, make it harder as they go, until they're finally able to play blindfolded. And when I started playing blindfold chess, after like a month, I noticed I was like 100 rating points stronger in only a month, just because I had drastically improved my calculation ability.
All right, awesome. What I experienced with it is it stopped me from making blunders. I don't know if I was able to calculate further, but I was able to play quicker and I was able to just know, right?
Yeah, and I
I
think
just
that's because
know,
when you're playing blindfold, you have to keep track of all the pieces, not just all the pieces, but all the empty squares as well.
right?
And and in a game, it's real easy to forget about that pawn over there, or to forget about that outpost square over here.
Long range bishops, right? If I'm gonna blunder, it's gonna be to a long range bishop, or don't ask me why. A rook. Recently I've been hanging things to rooks, and that's probably a sign of my form needs work.
Yeah. I
Or I
think
need a
hanging.
small break.
I think any hanging piece blunder is it's more about paying attention or taking your time,
Hmm.
and that's why I keep hanging my queen, because I keep getting low on time.
All right. So when you play blindfold chess, every chess player I've talked to has had a slightly different answer. Do you
Mhm.
visualize the pieces or do you just know where they're at? What goes
I
on in your head when you play blindfold?
I see a chessboard in my head.
Okay,
Yeah,
I don't. I just know that the bishop's on F1, so it can move to A6. The best
interesting.
way I can describe it is it's almost like a submarine sending out sonar, looking at something and having it bounce back and knowing that it's there. It's more that I just know where everything's at, and then I know where it can move to.
Interesting.
But
Yeah,
would you say
I see a full board in my head. I see the pieces. It's like I have a board in front of me.
and I have the ability to do that, but oddly enough, it gives me a headache where I'm easier to just, it's easier for me to just know where things are and remember in relation where they can move to
I,
visualize the board.
I think headaches are a part of chess. Uh, I think, and I think that's one of the differences between a really strong player and an average player is the strong player has had so many headaches. Now they're used to it.
Yeah, yeah, well said. But yeah, you mentioned playing blindfold chess on chess.com. I prefer to just call up a buddy and say, hey, got time for a chess game, and then play over the phone. But
Yeah,
it is a fruitful endeavor. Yes, it's hard at first, but it yields great results and it builds confidence knowing that you can do that.
yeah. And if your opponent knows you could do it, that puts a little fear in them too.
All
I've won
right.
more games than I can count because my opponent thought they were going to lose before we started.
Yeah, talk to me a little bit about the competitive mindset. What's a successful mindset going into a tournament?
I believe if you go into a tournament confident, you're going to do way better than if you go into a tournament doubtful. If you're afraid of your competition, you're not going to play as well. If you see your higher rated opponents as this like impossible beast that you can't overcome, then you're not going to overcome them. But if you see your high rated opponents as an opportunity, if you see it as and whenever I play a higher rated opponent, I'm excited. I'm like, awesome. Like I came to this tournament to play you. I don't want to play those lower rated people. I want to play the higher rated people. And I think that mindset alone is probably potentially what separates the people who become masters and the people that don't. I think confidence has a lot to do with that. I have students that when we're training, when we're in our lesson, I think, well, how are you not winning first place at every tournament you go to? Your skills are over here, but for some reason in the tournament you're down here. And it's just I think it's just confidence. They don't know how good they actually are. They just
Mhm.
know their rate and their opponent's rating. And when they see their opponent's ratings higher, they get scared.
And I experience this a lot too as a coach, seeing some really strong students that I feel are underperforming. So how do you address that in students? How do you help them develop that mindset?
What I do with those students is I'll lie to them. I will give them a puzzle, a chess puzzle that is like a 2000 level puzzle, but I'll tell them it's a 1500. And so we'll solve this puzzle together and or I'll have them solve it. And if they think it's a 1500 difficulty and they're used to solving that level difficulty and then they solve it and then I show them, oh, it's actually a 2000. That's a confidence boost. And I'll do that in multiple ways. I'll have them play an opponent online. Like I'll have my iPad set up and I'll have an opponent online. Let's say they're playing an 1800, but they don't see the screen. I'm playing the moves on the board for them for their opponent. And then after they win the game, I'll turn the screen around, show them they just beat an 1800. If you
Huh.
show them what they can do in practice, then you can boost their confidence. And I think that's one of the reasons I love using puzzles, chess puzzles for my students is if you know you can do this in practice, then why can't you do it in a tournament?
I love that thought. It's a very practical way to build a student's confidence. Yeah, part of the reason why I hopped in my car and drove 8 hours to Corpus Christi, in Houston for that matter, Houston's closer. But by talking to people like you, I become a better chess coach. I become more proficient at my craft. And there aren't that many 1900s out there in the chess world. It's kind of a small community. And of the 1900s, there are few that coach. And of the ones that coach, there are a few that are good. And it's clear that you know what you're doing in the job that you have. So yeah, great talking to you. Hopefully people take a lot away from this. And anything else you'd like to add about what you do about Corpus Christi chess, anything in general?
Uh, sure. Uh, I love that I'm like the face right now of chess in Corpus Christi, but I wasn't always the face of chess. You know, it was kind of just a thing. Nobody was doing it, so I guess I have to do it. Uh, Anytime I see somebody else like rising up wanting to do something, I'm like right there. I'm like, yeah, I'll post your event on my website. I'll be at your event. You know, I'm going to help you run your event better. Uh, I encourage everyone that wants to do something to promote chess. Like, if we all promote chess together instead of competing with each other, I think we'll all succeed more.
Absolutely. That's a vision of the business that I have. What's good for chess is good for all of us. And it just doesn't happen unless people take the initiative. I think a lot of us, right? We walk into a chess club and we don't feel welcome. Well, if you have the skills, create one yourself. Do better. Show what better looks like. And you've done it, and I've done it. And it's great for the community. All right, excellent, Johan. Well, thanks a lot for coming on. It was an
Thank you.
honor to meet you, honored to have you. Let me know if I can ever do anything to help out your endeavors in Corpus Christi. And
Okay,
let me know if you're ever in the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
I will be. All
All
right.
right, excellent. Catch you later, man.
All right, later.